It's time for our weekly conversation with Dr. Isaac Bogoch, infectious diseases specialist at Toronto General Hospital. Dr. Bogoch, always good to talk to you. Wanted to start here. We're going back to school in a couple of weeks' time. We saw that summer resurgence of COVID cases here. Numbers were a little higher than we expected for this time of year. Does that change any of the calculation or preparation right now when it comes to our kids or even parents and teachers, et cetera, going back to school?
I don't really think it does. I think when people want to know what they can expect going back to school this upcoming year, I think you can look at last year, and that's going to be a very good proxy to what this year will actually be. We saw COVID in the summer last summer as well. It tended to actually peter out a little bit before the start of the school year. We had a bit of a lull in the fall, in the early fall before it really started to take off in the late fall and winter. So if people are wondering what this school year is going to look like, especially in September, it's very likely, keyword likely, to look like what we saw last year.
Okay, well, that's kind of reassuring heading into the next couple of weeks here, because there's enough stuff on our minds that seems like we can sort of take it a little bit easy there. In the meantime, Dr. Bogoch, there's also growing concern or calls right now really for more provinces to start offering free meningitis vaccines for a rare but deadly strain of that. What are your thoughts on this, and can you help us sort of put that into perspective right now?
Yeah, so this is they're referring to something called meningitis B, and people get the meningitis vaccine in Ontario, for example, at 1 year of life, and then it's given again at grade 7. There are other groups that might get it later on in life, but that's when it's routinely offered, and that covers other types of this meningitis bacteria. But meningitis B is not covered under that vaccine. There's a separate vaccine for meningitis B. It causes the same terrible disease. It's not nearly as common, but it's still out there. Sadly, there are some small outbreaks and cases of this here and there in Canada. As you point out, they're very rare, but of course they can be deadly. Risk factors are people in congregate settings like dormitories, barracks, any congregate setting where there's a lot of close and direct contact between people. And the vaccine it's licensed in Canada. It's available in many places. You have to pay for it. But 2 provinces, Nova Scotia and PEI, cover it. And I think you'll start to see other provinces cover it as well. And in fact, the best case scenario is to integrate that vaccine into the current meningitis vaccine. So it's a one-shot deal. And I think hopefully in the near future, we'll see something like that as well.
That sounds like it makes sense, that's for sure. In the meantime, Dr. Bogoch, we've talked a lot to you about the plant-based almond milks, et cetera, the silk and whatever the other brand was, the recall over listeria concerns. This morning, we're learning about this back bacon, European butcher back bacon, that's being recalled again over listeria concerns here. One of the things that stuck out to me in the guidance and warning is that it may not even smell bad or look bad, but they really don't want you to cook with it or eat with it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a nasty bacteria that can cause very severe disease in pregnant women, in the oldest Canadians and the youngest Canadians, and in people who have an immunocompromised state. If you're not in that group, you still feel pretty sick with it. It mostly causes a gastrointestinal syndrome like diarrhea that self-resolves the vast majority of the time. But if you're in one of those at-risk groups, it can cause a bloodstream infection, sepsis, and has a predilection to cause meningitis. As you point out, you're not going to know if your product is contaminated. It's not going to look any different or smell any different. The other interesting thing with this bacteria, too, is that you think you put something in the fridge, it's going to be okay. No, this bacteria actually grows in colder temperatures like the refrigerator. So it can grow and thrive in 4 degrees Celsius, which sets it apart from other bacteria. If obviously you have any of these products or you're uncertain if you have these products, throw it out. That's the safe bet. Yeah,
that's the way to go there. You don't want to mess around with that. Okay, Dr. Bogoch, always appreciate your perspective. Thanks for joining us again this morning.
Have a great day, Nick. Thank you.